Welcome to the third episode of All Bulls Podcast. You can listen to this podcast or any episode of the All Bulls Podcast on both SoundCloud and YouTube. SoundCloud, you can follow me. My username on SoundCloud is All Bulls Podcast. And YouTube, my username on YouTube is the same. It's All Bulls Podcast. And you subscribe to my YouTube channel to listen to all the episode of All Bulls Podcasts. Just last Thursday, we have the 2016 NBA Draft, which I will be talking about the Bulls selection with their number 14 overall pick and even their second rounder on the number 48 overall pick. But first, let me talk about the rumors from last Thursday with the discussion with the trade rumors regarding Jimmy Butler. There's been heavily rumors regarding Jimmy Butler being traded. Teams like the Boston Celtics and the Minnesota Timberwolves. And like the saying, when there is smoke, there is fire. And the discussion being heated with a lot of media outlets reporting with the discussion between the Chicago Bulls and the Minnesota Timberwolves. The Minnesota Timberwolves own the number 5 overall pick for the NBA 2016 draft, which they select Chris Dunn. We all know that the Chicago Bulls, according to all the reports, even Casey Johnson from the Chicago Tribune and other media outlet, that Chicago Bulls are very high on point guard Chris Dunn, which Chris Dunn was a centerpiece for the trade for Jimmy Butler for the Chicago Bulls, and there were heavy discussions, and even including myself and other Bulls fans think that this deal may actually happen on draft night. We've been hearing reports, but the deal would fall apart. From what I heard or from what I read, according to other reports, there's been reports that the Minnesota Timberwolves were offering Ricky Rubio and the number 5 overall pick to the Chicago Bulls for Jimmy Butler. But I believe the Bulls turned that deal down. I would turn it down because quite as much, despite that the front office do a poor job the way they won things the last few years, they did the right thing that they turned this offer down. If assuming the reports are true, you gotta think. Let me say this. I know a lot of people on Twitter, other Bulls fans on Twitter, message boards, whether it's from RealGM.com or ESPN message board or other message board from the Chicago Bulls forum, that there's some fans are upset that the Bulls didn't pull the trigger. People need to understand this, that Jimmy Butler is a 2-time NBA All-Star. He's in his prime right now, and he is a proven NBA player. While you get prospects like Chris Dunn, who is unproven at the moment, you need to get more deal. You need to get more. The team can get more than what the current offer is. Jimmy Butler foul is at all-time high right now. You gotta get equal foul, and the current offer, according to reports, with Ricky Rubio and the number 5 overall pick for just Jimmy Butler, it doesn't equal Jimmy Butler's foul. The Bulls front office, Gar Forman and Sean Paxson, did the right thing to turn this deal down. I say this from my other podcast, the other episode of my podcast last week, that the only time I would do this deal with the Minnesota Timberwolves is the number 5 pick and Andrew Wiggins, or number 5 overall pick Karl Anthony Towns. I would even open for a deal with Jimmy Butler to Minnesota for number 5 overall pick and next year 2017 first round NBA draft, top 10 unprotected. That I will be open for it. But Rubio and the number 5 overall pick, that's not a good deal. It has to be more than what the more value than to get an equal value to Jimmy Butler. You could get more than that, a better offer than that. Discussion will heat up, but deals, like I say, fall apart. Uh, they didn't come to an agreement. Nothing's set. But I wouldn't be surprised. Don't hold my word to it. That the deal between the Chicago Bulls and Minnesota Timberwolves may resurface later down the road. Maybe sometime in the off season this summer before the season starts, which is a possibility. I know Casey Johnson from Chicago Tribune tweet on Twitter that the Chicago Bulls uh, were uh, serious about rebuilding, doing the rebuilding process. Some uh, something like that. I can't remember what his exact quote is on Twitter right now, but it's something to that extent. Um, this could resurface right now. Jimmy Butler is with the Chicago Bulls at the moment, so we'll see what happens this for the rest of the off season. This off season is young. It's possible that Jimmy Butler will be staying with the team from the starting from the opening night, but it's possible. But he could be dealt any time in a given day before training camp. Before, so we see what happens. Now, the NBA 2016 NBA draft which it was last Thursday. The Chicago Bulls own the number 14 overall pick, and they select Denzel Valentine from Michigan State. I like Denzel Valentine. I think he'll be a good player. I say this from the last podcast. I think he'll be a good player, but my biggest concern, and I brought that up from the last podcast, that my biggest concern with him, my major concern is his knee issue. He has knee surgery, and there's been reports that maybe later down the road that he may have the same issue that Brendan Roy have with the knee, and that's why I say the last episode to pass up on him because of that issue alone. I would suggest draft other players, but anyways, they select him. I'm not saying I'm unhappy, but I'm not saying I'm thrilled about this pick either. Um, there are other players the Chicago Bulls could select over him, especially some players that have more upside than Denzel Valentine. Players like Ray Bolden and Timothy Luwawu, or even I would select Malik Beasley, which those players make more sense feeling the Bulls need when the Bulls desperately need athleticism, and Denzel Valentine doesn't provide athleticism. He's not the most athletic player. He's not athletic at all. Um, that's gonna be an issue for the Chicago Bulls with athletics. Let me tell you about if for the people who are not familiar with Denzel Valentine. Let me tell you about my scouting report with Denzel Valentine from my own words, with my own two eyes. I have watched a lot of college basketball games this past season, this year, um, and my Denzel Valentine, who is I believe 6'6", maybe 6'7", I think 6'6", can do almost everything. The lack of but almost everything, almost all around player. The thing he's lack is his defense. He's not a good defender, and he can't beat guys off the dribble. He's not good at that, and of course as I mentioned earlier, he's lack of athleticism. He's not a very athletic player. That's his issue. But he can shoot the ball. He can move without the ball. A solid rebounder for his position. I believe his stats is like about his stats for last season with Michigan State is averaging 18 points per game, 7 assists per game, and 7 rebounds per game. He's also a good playmaker, unselfish player. I do think he could be a good pro, I don't expect him to be like a superstar or even an all-star, but I expect him to be a potential good role player, assuming if he can stay healthy and his knee issues is not an issue at all. So um, I think he can play multiple positions, shooting guard and some small forward, maybe a little bit at point, a little bit, but I think he's more likely a shooting guard, most which is what guard foremen say on the press conference after they select him on draft night, which I agree with that. Um, and that he don't expect him to be anything special, but I do think he'll be a good pro player. Like I said, the Chicago Bulls select the number 48 overall pick. They used the second round selection named Paul Sipser from Germany, I believe. He played in the EuroLeagues, I believe. But I gotta admit, I never seen him play. But just the other day, I watched some of the highlights on YouTube of his game to give me an idea what his game about, or what his strength was, his weakness, just to give me an idea about his game. And from my impression, that he seemed like a potential good role player. He has potential to be a good role player in this league. Nothing more. From my understanding, he can shoot the ball pretty well. Um, he can play defense. I'm pretty impressed even though it's from the highlights on YouTube, it's only highlights. I'm pretty impressed the way he moves his feet. He moves his feet very well. He is 6'8" small forward. He's not the most athletic player, but he is athletic than you think. Watch some of his highlights. The way he uses athleticism. He can attack the basket, a good slasher. Um, my concern with him regarding his weakness to his game, that he's not a good isolation type player. He's not a good creator. Um, if he if a defender will force him to create shots, he's not gonna do well in that possession. Either that's gonna force a turnover, because his ball handling skill is not bad, but it's not good either. It's like, I would say, average based on the highlights on YouTube. Um, he won't beat guys very well off the dribble. Don't expect he's gonna have issue with that. He's also issue, he's a solid 3-point shooter. I believe he shoot about 40 some percent behind the arc last season at in the EuroLeagues, I believe. Um, but he played limit time. Keep that in mind. He played like, I believe, 15, 16 minutes per game. So there's that. The problem is that he's gonna have struggle his shots when his shot is contested by the defenders. So he's gonna struggle, especially players who are more athletic and more quicker in the NBA. I'm not sure he will be on the roster this season, which is a possibility. It might be I'm not sure there will be a buyout. I'm not sure he will play this season for the Bulls. It might be a draft and stash him, but I believe he's 22-year-old right now. Um, Personally, I want to select him because there's a guy that Bulls could select is Gary Payton II, which they could have drafted Gary Payton II, especially they need a point guard, but they didn't select him. They pass up on him with their number 48 overall pick. So they select Paul Sipser. So we see. I do think but Sipser will be a solid role player, but nothing more. Nothing more. That's it. Same apply with Denzel Valentine. Um, Now there's rumors regarding Joakim Noah. Which he'll become a free agent in July. Um, Teams interest rumors about the New York Knicks. Derrick Rose, who is the new acquiration from the New York Knicks with the trade last week, wants Choki. No secret that they are great friends, so I'm not surprised that the New York Knicks will go after Choki Noah. They need a starting center. Only issue is Choki Noah health because of his injury for the last couple, especially the last couple seasons with the Chicago Bulls. Um, Very unlikely he will return to the Bulls, but he's one of my favorite players. He was the heart and soul, bring energy, do the little things, a leader. He will be missed. Uh, there are other teams I've read are interested in him. Teams like the Golden State Warriors, Minnesota Timberwolves, uh, and there is even rumors that the Washington Wizards going out offer him are prepared to offer him the max deal, like about 4 years, 124 million. I think it's just a rumor. I don't think it's true, but let's say it is. That will be as much as I love Choki Noah. That deal will be insane, stupid. What you don't that he doesn't worth much. I want to overpay him. That will screw up your salary cap for a long while. He especially concerned with his health. Good for Choki Noah getting paid big money with that salary, but not good for that franchise. But like I say, it's the rumor. I don't think it's true. Um, I expect him to, in my opinion, I expect him to go to a team probably with the New York Knicks. He's from New York, so that will make a lot of sense for him. But I won't be surprised there are other teams knocking on the door. There's been reports regarding Golden State Warriors, Minnesota Timberwolves, um, interested in his service. So we see about that. Um, Now heading free agency, this I believe this Thursday, yeah, no, actually, I take it back. This Friday, which is hitting midnight, July 1st, where teams can talk to free agents. This year, NBA free agents, they can talk to them, but they can't sign the contract till I think a week or 2 weeks later. I'm not sure the exact date. I don't have the date right now for free agents can sign a deal, but they can make verbal commitment with the team they agreed to go to on July 1st, starting midnight. It'll be interesting who the Bulls will target. There's been rumors about the Chicago Bulls targeting Evan Turner. I'm not a big fan of his game, uh, and he doesn't make sense or fit under Fred Hoiberg's try to run with his system, and he doesn't mesh well with Jimmy Butler. And so me, Jimmy Butler is still with the team with the Chicago Bulls. Um, I will say this: he is a solid rebounder for his position. He can handle the rock, but he's not a good outside shooter, which it won't make, which like I just said, won't make sense for him. Not a good fit for him under Fred Hoiberg. But I will be only open to sign with him, even though I'm not a big fan of his game, only for a 1 year low salary deal, and only for him to play off the bench with the second unit. That's the only time I will open to sign with him. I do not expect the Chicago Bulls to do much nor make a significant splash in this year free agent. This free agent class is pretty weak this year. Um, so I don't expect anything special. And keep this in mind: the Chicago Bulls have, I believe, 10 players under guaranteed contract or under contract right now. They have Jimmy Butler, Taj Gibson, Mike Dudley Jr., Robin Lopez, Jose Calderon, Doug McDermott, Tony Snell, Spencer DeWitt, uh, who else? Turan Grant. Uh, who else? And those two draft players, which I don't think they have signed the rookie deals yet. That's actually 11. If I miscalculate it. Let me start over. Robert Lopez, that's 1. Paul Gibson, that's 2. Jimmy Butler, that's 3. Mike Dudley Jr., Doug McDermott, Tony Snell, Trevor Grant, Jose Calderon, Spencer Dorito, and plus you have Felicio, that's number 10, if they're optioning his contract, which is probably most likely they'll option in his contract. That's 10, and plus you include those 2 draft players, Denzel Valentine and Paul Sipper. And like I said, I'm not sure if Paul Sipper will be on the roster this season. But if if he is, that'll be 12, and plus Nick Giola and Bobby Portis. Actually, that's 14 players, including those 2 draft prospects players. So that much. Even though you take out Paul Sipper, that's 13 players under contract. So they'll probably make a couple signings here and there. I doubt they'll make any splash. There's been rumors and reports that the Chicago Bulls are aiming for the 2017 plan, where the free agent class will be much stronger next summer. Players like Russell Westbrook, Stephen Curry, Blake Griffin, Chris Paul, Kyle Lowry will become free agents next summer. Supposedly. I would go that plan, but we know the Chicago Bulls' history regarding letting top free agents in their primes, which not very good record. Ever since the post Jordan dynasty days over, they not have any luck regarding landing big time free agents in their prime. Cherry Krause couldn't do it. He tried to get Tracy McGrady, Grant Hill, and even Eddie Jones, even though he's not a superstar, couldn't get it back in the days when they start the rebuilding process. He couldn't do it. John Paxson and Gar Forman couldn't do it. They couldn't get LeBron James, Carmelo Anthony. The Chicago Bulls, this franchise, have a history of not getting top free agent superstars in their primes. It is what it is. I think the smart thing to do is for the Bulls. I don't know. Actually, I have no answer to that question. A lot of people there are Bulls fans want the team to rebuild. There are others there's some want to retool. And Gar Forman stated on his press conference that the team is retooling. Well, right now, you're doing a very poor job retooling this team at the moment. You do a poor job retooling this team last season, which shouldn't bring the same roster in the first place last season, especially under a coach who never coached in a professional level, coming from a college level. That's a mistake right there. And look what happened last season. This franchise is a big mess right now, and you can blame Jerry Reinsdorf, the owner, leading this mess, letting bad PRs over decades, not just the last few years, not just only the last few years, especially with the Tom Thibodeau fiasco, but over decades, even during the dynasty day with Cherry Krause not getting along with Michael Jordan and Phil Jackson and even Scottie Pippen. He's letting bad PRs after bad PRs. That's one of the reasons why we don't get top stars free agents. A lot of people want to blame just the GM. While rightfully so, they are part of the problem. But Jerry Reinsdorf let his team look bad in terms of image, in terms of PR, public relation. That's why they don't get top star free agents. It's not about the top stars avoiding the shadow of Michael Jordan or it's bad weather. That's crap. That's BS. It's bad PR after bad PR after bad PR, and you blame Jerry Reinsdorf for letting his employees with bad PRs. With the example with the with Gar Forman and Sean Paxson feuding with Tom Thibodeau, or how about years ago when Finny Del Negro was head coaching for the Chicago Bulls, when Tom Paxson strangled Finny Del Negro, even though he apologized. Normally, when someone strangled another employee, they get fired, but he didn't get fired. Um, Instead, he get promoted to some different position, just a different job title, and that's it. Um, just poorly run, and that's why we don't get top star free agents. And I don't expect the Chicago Bulls hit a home run, not just this year free agent, but also next year free agents too. The Chicago Bulls are probably better off rebuilding this team. However, if they want to retool this team, they are better. They should at least keep Derrick Rose for one more season. Keeping Derrick Rose at least one more season will at least give you cap room next season. Even though there will have cap space next season, anyways, but at least keep Derrick Rose for one more season. But if you're gonna get rid of Derrick Rose and you're going to retool, might as well call Kevin Durant. Not that I don't think Kevin Durant will even consider the Chicago Bulls because they're a big hot mess right now thanks to the front office. And when I say front office, not just only Carl Foreman, John Paxson, but also Jerry Winsdorf. You can't blame those three guys poorly do a poor job running this organization. They do a good job running this franchise to the ground the last couple of years now. This team is a treadmill team right now, which is not the position you want to be at. So Chicago Bulls had to pick the lane: rebuild or retool. They say retool, so if you go retool the team, you better land that big time free agent next year. Not that I'm expecting it, because I'm not counting on it. But if you don't, you should be fired. You should be fired a long time ago, anyways. And I'll talk about Gar Forman and Sean Paxson should be fired. Sorry for that rant. I want to get that off of my chest for a long time. So there's that. I expect the Bulls to do minor moves in free agency. I don't know who they will target. There's been rumors about targeting Evan Turner, as I mentioned earlier. We'll see what happens regarding free agency starting this Thursday when teams, or this Friday I should say, and starting midnight. When teams can talk to free agents. So Chicago Bulls need they need everything. The most need they need excuse me. What they need the most is the point guard, and the only top point guard in this year free agent class is Mike Conley Jr. I wouldn't mind signing him. I always think he's an underrated point guard, solid defender, a solid mid ranger, can run the offense, play the right way. Only issue is he just come from the serious injury. I think it's agility. Can't even say that word, but from a major injury, so it's be kind of risk. I want to overpay him though, but I wouldn't mind signing him. But I don't think, in my opinion, this is based on my opinion, I don't think he'll even consider the Bulls. So there's that. It says it's the dark days for the Chicago Bulls right now, but like there's a saying, things will get worse before it gets better. But hopefully it'll get better soon. Hopefully. I'm gonna talk about I'm gonna give you a scouting report regarding the Chicago Bulls acquire from the Derrick Rose trades when they acquired Robin Lopez, Jordan Grant, and Jose Caron. Just to give people who's not familiar with their games an idea what they're about. I have NBA League Pass for the last few years, which is awesome, by the way. Get to see not only my favorite team play, the Chicago Bulls play, but I watch other teams play when my team's not playing, see other players, young players play. It's just cool to watch. It's cool to have. Um, that's why I'm familiar with their games. So let me start with my scouting report regarding the players that Chicago Bulls acquired from the trade from last Wednesday. Robin Lopez. He's not athletic. He's not mobile. Um, but he's a good. He brings defensive presence. He's a rim protector, which is he bring. He's the age of 28-year-old who is in his prime. Um, he's a good post defender too, especially bigger, stronger, slower guys. He will have trouble guarding smaller, quicker guys that are mobile and athletic. So he will have issue guarding those type of players. Um, so that's what his issue. But he brings solid. He will bring rim protection that the Bulls need, which I think he's an upgrade over Pau Gasol, obvious in terms of defense. And he's a little upgrade over Joakim Noah, right now. And I always think he's an underrated offense. Not great offensive player like his brother Brook Lopez, but underrated. He do have a nice hook shots. He can probably give you like 10 or 12 points per game, which is not bad. So there's that. You don't want him to do too much on offense because he's not much. He's not that great of an offensive player, but he will bring. He knows what to do on the defensive end. He will struggle against Ijo, immobile and athletic big guys and smaller guys. So he will have trouble because he's not mobile nor athletic player. Jerami Grant, my scout report from him. I see him play in college actually with Notre Dame, and he has potential to be a good role player. Some people think he'd be a potential good starter. It's a possibility, but I think I think he'd be better off as a backup role. He play both positions, the point guard and the shooting guard, but he do need to work on his outside shot. He's not a good shooter right now, but he needs to work on his shot. But I see him a potential play good defense. He is athletic, not a bad playmaker, not great, but above average playmaker. He will bring to the table. Um, he is young, so there's, and also for Jose Calderon, he was a good player his young days, but when he was playing for the Toronto Raptors, a per point guard, a good mid ranger, and a good solid 3-point shooter, and he can run the offense, can take care of the ball, but with his age, his injuries, history, he will struggle with the Knicks. Even though he did shoot the three pretty well last season with the Knicks, about I believe 44% behind the arc. But he always not known as a good defender. He's not athletic. So there will be issue with that. I wouldn't start him, even though he will fit pretty well with playing alongside with Jimmy Butler. Be a good spot up 3-point shooter, in my opinion. I know other Bulls fans I chat with on Twitter mentioned that, and I agree with him. He'll fit along well with Jimmy Butler. Will fit perfectly well for Jimmy Butler, especially under Fred Hoiberg's system. I just don't like the idea of him as a starter, especially if play heavy minutes. If he play limit minutes, that's a different story. I'm fine with play him, but not heavy minutes, not as a starting role, though. That's why this depth chart of the point guard is very bad for the Chicago Bulls at the moment, since trading Derrick Rose away. So, there's that. I think that covers pretty much it. I'm not sure when I'm going to do the next episode. Maybe this week. It depends. This week, maybe the earliest. Next week, the latest. So stay tuned for that. As I say, you can listen to this podcast and my other podcasts on SoundCloud and YouTube. SoundCloud, my username is All Bulls Podcasts. You can follow me. And on YouTube, my username is All Bulls Podcast, and you can subscribe to my YouTube channel. You can also follow me on Twitter. My Twitter username is PDUHCan. So feel free to follow me on Twitter as well. And like I say, always, feedback is always welcome. Post comics on whether it's on YouTube, SoundCloud, or both. Or even tweet me. Tell me what you think about this podcast, or what you think about whatever I discuss today's episode, or any future episode or past episode on my podcast, All Bulls Podcast. So I hope everyone have a good day this evening, and have a great day, and have a rest great week. And we see what happens when I'm gonna do another episode, either this week or next week. Is what I'm aiming. So goodbye, everyone.